The Son's Gift. Ethan's childhood had been filled with constant doctor visits and endless medication. His heart was never as strong as the other kids. He couldn't play sports, couldn't run too much, and whenever he grew tired, he felt as though a tight fist was squeezing his chest. Yet all he ever wanted in life was simply to live normally. When he started university, it was the first time he tried to build a life on his own, away from his family. That was when he met Anna. Anna was a volunteer assistant helping foreign students with English. She first noticed Ethan in class, quiet, shy, a young man who carried a faint sadness in his eyes. One day after class, she saw him on the stairs, out of breath. She rushed to his side and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Are you okay?" she asked anxiously. Ethan forced a faint smile. "Just—" From that day on, Anna stayed by his side. At first, it was just small conversations. They had coffee together, talked about books, teased each other. In Ethan's quiet world, Anna's laughter became light. Over time, their friendship grew into a deep, unshakable love. For the first time, Ethan no longer felt trapped in the identity of the sick one. With Anna, he was simply a man, loved, valued, normal. For 3 years they shared every moment. Walks by the seaside, long train journeys, sleepless nights filled with conversation. Each time, Ethan felt his heart growing weaker, but when he looked into Anna's eyes, he found a new reason to keep living. But he could not deny what the doctors had always told him. His heart could no longer endure. "If I just hold on a little longer," he whispered one night. Anna couldn't hold back her tears. "I promise you, no matter what happens, I will never forget you. In fact, maybe we'll never be truly apart." As the days passed, Ethan's condition worsened. His name was placed on the transplant list, but waiting meant growing weaker with each passing day. Every morning, Anna came with flowers in her hands. She gave him hope, speaking of the trips they would take, the dreams they still had. But deep inside, she knew their time was running out. Finally, on a cold morning, the doctors walked into Ethan's room. "A donor has been found," they said. Ethan. The hospital became Ethan's world. Days blurred into nights under the cold hum of fluorescent lights, with monitors beeping like an endless reminder of his fragile heart. Sometimes he wondered if he would ever walk outside again without feeling like he was dragging the weight of the world in his chest. And yet, every morning, Anna arrived. Sometimes with a cup of coffee from the cafe across the street, even though Ethan could barely drink it. Sometimes with a small sketch she had made during the night, funny caricatures of him as a superhero with a giant heart on his chest. Sometimes with nothing but her laughter, which seemed enough to keep him alive for one more day. Ethan would smile, though his body felt weaker with each passing week. "Do you ever get tired of this? Of me? Like this?" he asked once, avoiding her eyes. Anna leaned forward, cupping his face in her hands. "Tired? Ethan, when I look at you, I don't see a sickness. I see the man I love, that's all." Her words cut through his despair, yet deep down he carried a guilt he could never shake. He knew his time was slipping away. One evening, when the hospital allowed him outside for some fresh air, they sat together in the small garden behind the building. The night was cool, the stars scattered like diamonds across the sky. Ethan's breath came slow, each inhale a reminder of his fragile existence. "I wish I could give you more," he said quietly. "A normal life, a future without hospital walls, a family, adventures. But instead, you're stuck here with me." Anna rested her head on his shoulder. "I don't care about normal," she whispered. "My life is here with you. That's all I ever wanted." Ethan closed his eyes, memorizing the weight of her against him, the warmth of her hand in his. For a moment, he almost believed they could stay like this forever. But reality crept in, relentless. His strength dwindled further. Walking down the corridor left him gasping. Even speaking became tiring. The doctors grew more concerned, their voices heavier with each visit. Anna, however, never let him see her despair. She laughed, she teased him, she read him stories when he was too weak to hold a book. Yet, when she went home at night, tears stained her pillow. And somewhere in those nights of silent crying, the decision rooted itself in her heart. Ethan's life was slipping away. The transplant list was long. Time was cruel. If no one else could save him, she could. It terrified her, the thought. But it also felt inevitable. She loved him too deeply to watch him fade. He had once told her, "I don't want to leave you behind." Anna had decided she would make sure he never had to. The next morning, Ethan noticed her silence. "You're different today," he said softly, studying her face. Anna forced a smile. "Just tired." But her eyes betrayed her. There was a weight in them, a secret she could not share. She held his hand tighter than usual, as though it might be the last time. And then, that cold morning came. Ethan woke to the mechanical hum of the machines, feeling weaker than ever. A nurse entered, telling him the doctors would be in shortly. Confused, he looked around for Anna, but she wasn't there. Moments later, a doctor entered with a grave but hopeful look. "Ethan," he said gently, "a matching donor has been found." The words struck him like thunder. A donor, salvation. Hours blurred into moments. Nurses prepared him, voices echoing in the sterile hallways. He searched desperately for Anna, but she was nowhere to be seen. And before he could understand why, they wheeled him into surgery. The letter trembled in Ethan's hands as he unfolded it. His eyes blurred with tears before he could even read the first words. But slowly, painfully, he forced himself to follow Anna's handwriting. Soft, curved, familiar, stared back at him. "My love, if you are reading this, it means the surgery was a success. It means you are alive. And that is all I ever wanted. For you to live." Ethan's throat tightened. His fingers gripped the paper as though it might dissolve in his hands. He read on, his heart thundering in his chest. "You once told me you didn't want to leave me behind. That thought broke my heart, because I knew I could never let you go either. I could not watch the light fade from your eyes while mine still shone. I could not imagine a world where your laughter was gone and mine remained. So I made my choice. My heart belongs to you now, Ethan. It beats in your chest. It carries you forward. It carries us both forward." The room spun. Ethan pressed his palm hard against his chest, feeling the rhythm pounding within him. Her heart. Anna's heart. Tears streamed down his face as he forced himself to keep reading. "Live, Ethan. That is my only request. Live enough for both of us. Go to the places we dreamed of seeing. Read the books we never finished. Dance even when no one is watching. Breathe deep, laugh loud, and never let this gift be wasted. And when you feel your chest rise and fall, when you hear the steady rhythm of your heartbeat, remember, it's me, loving you still. Forever yours, Anna." The letter slipped from his trembling hands, fluttering onto the floor. Ethan fell to his knees, his sobs breaking the silence of the room. His chest ached, not from weakness, but from the unbearable truth that the love of his life had given everything for him. He pressed both hands against his heart, gasping through his tears. "Anna, you're here. You're still here." And for the first time he understood. Every beat of his heart was not just his own. It was hers. It was them. Together. Forever. The last gift. Continuatio. The letter lay crumpled on the floor, but Ethan couldn't take his eyes off it. His tears had smudged the ink, but every word was etched into his memory. Carve Anna's voice echoed inside him. Live enough for both of us. But how could he? He stumbled to the bed, clutching his chest as though the heart inside might escape. It pounded, alive, strong, a rhythm so steady it almost mocked him. Every beat reminded him that she was gone, and yet every beat reminded him that she was still her for hours. He sat in silence, The night stretched long, broken only by the sound of his ragged breathing and the relentless pulse in his chest. The days that followed were unbe. He walked through the apartment like a ghost. Anna's scarf still hung on the chair. Her book lay open, a ribbon marking the page she had last read. The walls seemed to whisper her laughter. Sometimes he caught himself speaking to her, asking her opinion, telling her about his day, before the emptiness of the room cruised. And yet, in the quiet moments when he closed his eyes and pressed his hand to his chest, he swore he could feel her presence, not just in memory, but in truth, a warmth, a whisper, a rhythm that was. Anna was gone, but she was also with him. One evening, he returned to the hospital garden where they had sat under the stars. The bench was cold, the night air sharp against his skin. He looked up at the sky and whispered, "I don't know if I can do this without you." But then his heart answered, a strong, steady beat that wasn't just his. And for the first time since the surgery, Ethan smiled through his tears. The last gift, healing journey. In the Live Enough 4, at first it was the small things. Each act was painful, but it was also healing. It was a promise kept. Months passed. Ethan grew stronger. His body, once fragile, now carried him with an energy he had never known. He realized, with a pang of both guilt and gratitude, that this was because of her. So he began to dream again, the way they had once he traveled to Italy, the place Anna always wanted to see. Standing before the Colosseum, he whispered, "You made it here, Anna. We made it here." His hand pressed against his chest as if she could see the view through his eyes. In Paris, he sat beneath the Eiffel Tower at night, a notebook in his hand. He wrote her a letter, telling her about the lights, the laughter of strangers, the way the world felt alive. He left the note folded at the base of the tower, a quiet offering to the woman who lived on in his heartbeat. Back home, he surrounded himself with life. He laughed with old friends, though the laughter always ended with tears. He volunteered at the hospital, sitting with patients who waited for their own transplants, giving them hope drawn from his own pain. He told them, "This heart isn't mine. It's a gift, and gifts are meant to be honored." Years later, standing in the same hospital garden where he and Anna had once whispered their fears and dreams, Ethan felt the evening breeze against his face. The stars shone just as they had on that night. He closed his eyes, pressing his hand to his chest. "Anna," he whispered, "I've lived. I've laughed. I've seen the world. All because of you. And when this heart finally stops, I want you to know I never wasted it, not a single beat." And in the quiet rhythm beneath his hand, he felt her answer, steady, strong, eternal.